Good morning, YouTube. And today we have the reveal of the reptiles, the snake, the graveyard abusers from the Ancient Guardians. Now they're being called the Abyss. And of course, as you can tell, they are confirmed as reptiles, highlighted by the use of Snake Crane, which I'm hoping will also be reprinted in the set. Otherwise, I personally wouldn't go rushing out to buy Snake Crane right now, because the prices are always stupid high. But just as a heads up, it could possibly be reprinted. Anyway, so we've got the Makai no Ori, so it's called Dreg of the Abyss. It's a light level 4 reptile, so it's a lights and dark deck, shocker. Only use this card's first and second effect once per turn each. You can send this card from your hand to the graveyard, send one dark reptile monster from your deck to the graveyard. That's pretty cool, because straight away that sets up a chaos monster. If you control no monsters or you control an abyss monster, you can special summon this card from your graveyard, but banish it when it leaves the field. You cannot special summon monsters while this card's special summon by this effect is in the monster zone, except reptile monsters. Now, I'm pretty sure there is that rank 4 reptile, like Gogi or something like that. So that would be really cool, because I'm pretty sure it searches out a reptile. So you XYZ with this, detach it, search out a reptile, and then you would already have, if you get another level 4 on board, that is, but you'd already have a reptile in the graveyard, like a dark in the graveyard, so then you can just make a chaos monster. So that's the initial 4 that jumps to my mind. Nihil, Dreg of the Abyss. You can only use this card's first and second effect once per turn each. Send this card from your hand to the graveyard. Send one light reptile monster from your deck to the graveyard. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can add one abyss spell or trap from your deck to your hand. Nice. It's pretty much the reverse of this. So again, sets up chaos plays. Nice. Philogi, Haze of the Abyss. It's kind of like an Egyptian crocodile. I like that. You can only use this card's first and second effect once per turn. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard or special summoned from the graveyard, target one face-up monster your opponent controls and one monster in their graveyard with equal or higher attack. Special summon the target in your opponent's graveyard to their field, and if you do, send the target they control to the graveyard. If this card is in your graveyard, you can send one card from your hand to the graveyard and add this card back to the hand. It's a shame that it targets, because if it didn't target, then you could arguably say, right, okay, cool, there's ways of getting rid of like dragoons and stuff like that. I think the other slightly disappointing thing is, I mean, it would have been really cool if it was like an Ice Dragon's Prison. That would have been sick. But it does look like they're all level 4s, which is great. Zohar, Haze of the Abyss. You can only use this card's first and second effect once per turn. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard or special summoned from the graveyard, you can have your opponent draw one card, and if they do, you add one abyss monster from your deck to your hand, except Zohar, Haze of the Abyss. Then each player sends one card from their hand to the graveyard. If this card is in your graveyard, you can send one card from your hand to graveyard and add it to your hand. Alright, fine. And then we get onto the boss monsters. So we've got, well, I say boss monster with 2400 defense and 400 attack. Curse, Dawn of the Abyss. You can only use this card's first and second effect once per turn. If this card is in your graveyard, you can tribute one monster, special summon this card. Then your opponent can special summon one monster from their graveyard to their field, but its effects are negated. Ugh. If this card is special summoned, you can target one level 4 or lower abyss monster in your graveyard and special summon it, but banish it when it leaves the field. Aleph, Dusk of the Abyss. You can only use this card's first and second effect once per turn. If this card is in your graveyard, tribute one monster, special summon this card, then your opponent can add one monster from their graveyard to the hand. If this card is special summoned, you can target 2 of your banished monsters, including at least one reptile monster, returning to the graveyard. Again, chaos, that's all I'm seeing. Aron, King of the Abyss. If this card is in your graveyard, tribute 2 monsters, special summon this card. If your opponent adds a cards to the hand, except during the draw phase, you can send one random card from their hand to the graveyard. Nice. If a monster or monsters your opponent controls is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can add one light or dark reptile monster from your deck to or graveyard to your hand, except himself. That's kind of nice. I like this. They're all hard once per turns. but it gives you a search, gives you a rip from the hand, so I quite like that. That's a good one. Amnesia, Queen of the Abyss. I love the Egyptian theme going through this. You can only use this card's first, second, and third effect once per turn. If this card is in your graveyard, you treat 2 monsters, special summon it. If a monster or monsters is special summoned from your opponent's graveyard, you can send 1 card they control to the graveyard. If a monster or monsters is sent from your opponent's hand or deck to the graveyard, you can special summon 1 light or dark reptile monster from your graveyard except herself. And then finally, the cover card, well, for the monsters, finally the cover card, Odo Abyss, Deity of the Abyss, 3100 attack, 2200 defense, level 10 light. If this card is in your graveyard, you contribute 3 monsters to special on this card. Once, while face up on the field, quick effect, you can send all monsters on the field to the graveyard except the face up monsters that were special summoned from the graveyard. Alright, fine. Depths of the Abyss, only use the first and second effect once per turn each. If a face-up reptile monster or monsters you control is destroyed by battle or an opponent's card effect, you can target 1 card your opponent controls and send it to the graveyard. If this card in your field zone is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you can send cards from the top of your opponent's deck to the graveyard equal to a number of reptile monsters with different names in your graveyard. Interesting. Emptiness of the Abyss. Only use your first effect once per turn. Ooh, so the second effect isn't once per turn. We'll find out what that is in a minute. During the main phase, you can treat 1 reptile monster, then target 1 monster your opponent controls, special summon it. 1 monster in your opponent's graveyard, special summon it to your field, but send it to the graveyard during the end phase. So it's kind of like, what, a Monster Reborn, but with little effect. If this was a spell, then fine, but I think it's a bit slow as a trap. If this face-up card in the spell and trap zone is sent to the graveyard, send all face-up non-reptile monsters you control to the graveyard. So it's a nice kind of like continuous, which is cool. Yeah. Invasion of the Abyss, normal trap. You can only activate 1 card with this card's name per turn. Special summon 2 Abyss tokens. If you have 8 or more Abyss monsters with different names in your graveyard, you can apply this effect instead. Special summon 2 reptile monsters with different names from the graveyard. Again, it's cool. The second effect is really nice, and the second effect I would say is too good to be on a spell. But the top one could have been on a spell. I mean, you look at Photon Sanctuary or whatever it is. They let you special summon 2 Photon tokens. Like, it would have been so much better if you could, if there was a spell. Like, I mean, even if it was a trap and it said this first effect is this first effect can be activated from your hand if you control no other monsters. Like, something like that would have been really, really cool. And then of course they've got the picture of Snake Rain. It's been reprinted in this set, as you can tell by the source code, which I'm not surprised of. I'm not exactly. Let me have a quick look. I can't remember exactly what. It's such an old card. Discard 1 card, select 4 reptile monsters from your deck and send them to the graveyard. So I mean, that's kind of cool. That kind of works with this guy here. So that's alright. It means you're probably going to be looking at. I mean, they're kind of cool. My overall thoughts of them, they are kind of cool. They're like an infernoid reptile deck. I love the Egyptian kind of theme that flows throughout them. I think that's really kind of cool. But they kind of remind me of Generators in the sense that no matter what you do, you have to give your opponent something back. Now, I get some of the other cards then trigger exactly like Generators, but again, you need to have those monsters on the board first. So the best ones to me, just straight off the bat, are the first 2 ones, Null and Nihil, purely because they send each other, they set up a chaos play. So straight away, by sending themselves, they can set themselves up for a Chaos Dragon play, and then as long as you can find the generic, I think it's like the Go Giant. I'm gonna have a quick look again. Yu-Gi-Oh! Rank for reptiles. If I can spell. There it is, King of the Feral Imp. I don't know why I thought it was Gogi Gogu. Detach 1 material from this card, add 1 reptile monster from your deck to your hand. So this is definitely getting played. So if you haven't got any and you want to play this deck, definitely go pick this up. There was a Reptile Link monster as well. Yu-Gi-Oh! Reptile Link. I can't remember what it was. I don't know if it's relevant. There it is. Is this one? I've got 2 of them. 2 reptile monsters, quick effect, discard 1 monster, place a counter. A count is equal to the original level on face-up monsters on the field, distributed as you wish. If this card is destroyed by battle or card effect and sent to grave, special summon non-link reptile monsters with different names from your graveyard up to number of monsters your opponent controls with an A counter on them. That's kind of cool. That could be useful. If this card, so it requires 2 monsters including a reptile monster. If this card is linked to you entire one face-up monster your opponent controls, changes attack to 0. During your main phase, if your opponent controls a monster or monsters with 0 attack, you can add reptile monsters with different names from the deck to your hand up to the number of monsters your opponent controls with 0 attack. Also, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of his turn except reptile monsters. So, I mean, both of the links are pretty good in this. I would certainly use them. But yeah, they're 2 cards to keep an eye on. Both came in Duvo. Both should be like crazy cheap because no one, like, unless you're an alien player or specifically a reptile player at that point, no one specifically needed them or wanted them. So definitely pick these guys up as well. The shame about this one is it's only 200 attacks. It's pretty weak. This is a little bit better, I think. You just need to make sure you give your opponent A tokens, and then this card needs to be destroyed by battle card effect, which shouldn't be an issue. I mean, some of your Abyss cards might be able to do that for you. Anyway, that is it for the Abyss deck. Very, very interesting. There's now only one more deck to be revealed in Ancient Guardians. So once that comes out, we will do that video for you guys as well. But for now, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, guys, as absolutely always, stay safe and happy dueling.